I was 10 years old. I looked forward to snow days because I would grab my snow shovel and then cold call the neighborhood and see how many people wanted their driveways plowed. And after that, I started lawn businesses when I was in high school. And then after I got out of college, I ran several businesses on the side. When eBay came along, I had a very successful drywall tools business where I was shipping drywall tools all over the country. But I was doing that while I was working a corporate job somewhere else at night, for those of you who are questioning that. But when you're shipping to France and Australia and all those places, it's easy to do it for 3 or 4 hours in the evening and then go to work in the daytime. So in my professional career, I ended up working for a national consulting firm for about 15 years, and then 3 years ago I left that company and started up my own business working with a friend that does agricultural sales. And then last spring, I started up another company called Complete Franchise Services, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Just a little bit about franchising so that we are kind of all on the same page. There's a specific legal definition to whether you're a franchise or not, and you guys can read this, but basically there's a specific legal way to be a franchise and not an individual ownership business. There's specific legal factors when you are a franchise, and that's regulated by the FTC. There's some statistics here. The main thing that I wanted you to notice is the very last bullet point on this page. 86% of franchises opened within the last 5 years were still under the same ownership, and 97% were still open for business. And then compare that to an individual owned business. From 1971 to 1997, less than 5% of franchise businesses closed each year, but from 78 to 98, 62% of non-franchise businesses closed within the first 6 years. The reason for that we'll get into here in just a little bit. And people wonder, can you make money operating a franchise? Well, 30% of franchisees earn over $150,000 a year. So we're not talking just all home-based businesses here, although there are some that are home-based. There are different types of franchises. We're not going to get into this too much, but if you hear about a master developer as opposed to a unit developer, then there's a difference on how those are sold and how those are the territories are allocated. But you can get into a franchise in virtually anything that you want to do. I mean, in virtually any industry. And the companies that I work with, I have 70 different industries that I work in. And it's everything from Amco Transmissions, who is essentially a turnkey. You pay the money and they build the shop, they hire the people, they do everything. To home-based businesses that you can completely determine your own how much you work and what you do. So there's a wide variety. Some of the advantages for buying into a franchise as opposed to opening up a business on your own are listed here. You get lower risk because of the support that you have from corporate. You have group purchasing power, a lot of times name recognition. Even though a lot of people say that they like to help small mom and pop businesses, if you're on the road and you want a sandwich, a lot of times you go where you know the sandwich is going to taste like you want it to taste. You're more, a lot of times, a lot of people are more interested in looking at mom and pop businesses in an area where they're familiar with, because they don't know what they're going to get into if they don't. But the main thing is you get a proven system of operation. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. You have the support, you have the systems. One of the catchphrases in the industry is you work the system, and you just hire the people that work the system. So that way you know, the franchisor knows that you're working their system, but then also you know that you're working a proven system that's worked over and over and over in a lot of other places. So what do I do? There is a proven process from going from a prospect or someone who thinks that they might be interested in opening a business to actually buying a business and being a franchisee. And I've kind of separated them out into 20 different steps here. My portion of those 20 steps is the first 5. And so what I do is I work with people who are interested in getting into business for themselves. I help them analyze their needs, analyze their market, what are their goals, what can they afford, and then work towards finding the right business for them. And usually what I will do is, after a short introductory phone call, I will set up a time for about a 40 to 45 minute I was about to say interrogation, but that's not an interview. And at the end of that interview, I usually have a very good idea of what kind of business they might be interested in. And a lot of times it's not what they thought. They contacted me because they wanted to get into a Quiznos, and then I may find that medical billing is something that's much more in tune to what they have as far as financial goals, as far as their contacts network, all the different things that we talk about, what their hobbies and interests are, whether they want to work 14 hours a day or 4 hours a day, things like that. So I then research the franchises that are available in their area. I research the territories, find out territories available for the businesses that we're interested in looking at, and then propose those businesses to them. If they're interested in talking to any of those companies, then I just put them in touch with the franchisor. And I do that all at no cost to them. My services are completely free. So, there are different financial resources that are available if you're looking for buying into a business. There's traditional lending, there's SBA loans. You can also do a process for a 401k rollover. If you have a 401k and you're leaving the corporate world like I did 3 years ago, there is a way that you can use the money in your 401k legally and not incur an IRS penalty for taking the money out. So I have contacts through different financial companies that will do that for people so that they can fund their business without borrowing money if that's a goal that they have. We also have unsecured financing if it's something that they want to get into and they just don't have that last 10 or 15,000. Then there's unsecured financing. And usually if you have a credit score over like 720, you can get it. So it's pretty easy. The future of franchise ownership, 20 to 34-year-olds are 3 times as more likely as older people to get into business ownership. You'd be amazed how many people I talked to that got out of college, got done with their master's degree, and then couldn't find a job. And so they decided, hey, you know what? Another $20,000 or $30,000 in debt is really nothing compared to what I've got. And so I'm going to go ahead and borrow some money and go into business for myself. Women are more than twice as likely to go into business for themselves as men. And there's also something called the Vet Fram program. So if you're an honorably discharged veteran, you can get into franchising at a reduced cost. So this is my contact information, and any questions? Yes, ma'am.
You said you don't charge any money for the consulting. How do you make your living?
She asked, well, how can I do this for free? And I am paid by the franchisors to bring qualified candidates to them. So if I work with somebody and they end up buying into the franchise, then I get paid a finder's fee by the franchisor, which means I end up doing a lot of work. A lot of times people will go down to the day where they're going to sign and they decide not to, and I don't get paid. But generally it works out. Yes?
How often do you run into people that come to you as, I want to be an entrepreneur, and you walk through the interrogation process and it's not for them?
A lot.
Okay.
A lot. I'd say my conversion rate is actually pretty good. I've been doing this for a very short amount of time, about 4 months. I know that in the industry the conversion rate is under 1%. Right now my conversion rate is around 3%. So if I talk to 100 people, around 20 to 25 of them will end up talking to franchisors, and usually 2 or 3 of those will end up buying. Yes, ma'am?
You said some of your franchise opportunities are home-based businesses. What differentiates that from direct sales industry? What's the main differences?
Well, the main difference is, sorry, I ran a timer so it would go over, because I could talk about this for over half an hour. I'm done. The main difference is the franchisor systems. So something like medical billing, when you first get into it, they say, yes, it's okay for you to run that from home. But if you have more than 10 doctors, we would like for you to have a storefront because you're going to have employees, you need to have a presence. It's completely up to the franchisor. They'll say whether you can have passive or active ownership. Some folks just want to buy in, and then it's completely managed by someone else, and they just want to be an investor. Some franchisors say, yeah, that's okay. Others say, no, we really want for the owner to be an active part of the daily business. So it just depends on the franchise and the systems that they have in place. One.
Franchise system, is that your company or are you a franchise of that?
Complete Franchise Services is my company. It's an LLC, and then I registered as an S corp with the IRS. But I did buy into a franchise system, so I have the support of the entire back office system through FranServe, which is my franchisor. Just real quickly, in 10 seconds, 3 years ago when I started the ag sales company that I started, I knew a guy, and he basically gave me papers and said, go out and talk to farmers. And I started up basically from scratch on my own. And so I know what it's like to start up a company with no support. And then going into the franchise sales, I have the entire training, the mentoring, the back support of the parent company. It's a world of difference. So there's a big difference between just starting up on your own and doing it yourself and having the support of the company. Okay, thanks, guys.
One more question.